let's move on then. Today we're having a conversation essentially about Chinese consumers. We're going to share some insights beyond obvious, and we're going to talk about moms, super moms in China, and then we're going to talk about powerful women. I see Michael, Yin, and Tazi with us here today. That's phenomenal. While we're waiting for more people to join, guys, do raise a hand if you have any questions at all, or if you would like to add to conversation. Meanwhile, we're going to set the stage by beginning to talk about super moms in China. Whenever you would like to add something or ask a question, as mentioned, just raise that hand. Okay, Syca, what are your insights on Chinese super moms, especially for this year?
Well, actually, the reason why I choose super moms and dads is because right now, just around me, well, actually many of my friends, they have already become super moms and dads. So they're pretty young. They're the hot mamas. 他们是辣妈、辣妈、辣爸、宝妈、宝爸 yes, and they have their very cute and beautiful children. And actually, I think there is something interesting about them, and which is something I'm gonna share later. And before that, I'd like to share something general about this consumer group, in case some of our audience is not that familiar with this consumer group with very high potential in this year's market.
Absolutely,
yes.
Sounds great.
Actually in China, before 2015, it's actually the one-child policy. But after that, Chinese government they want to encourage the people to have more children. So in 2015, they had this two-child policy. So after that, the birth rate is actually really growing, although not in a quite fast speed. But it is really growing, and actually the newborns they bring the fresh new blood to the maternity and infant care market, and the super moms and dads they're behind this they're behind this trend. Okay, and here is a very astonishing data. So the maternity and infant care sector is expected to maintain an annual growth rate of 20 to 30% for the next 10 years.
Incredible,
which is very incredible, especially for those brands who are doing in the maternity and infant care industry. And actually, among these people, the post-90s supermoms, they actually account for more than 70% of related product categories, such as the milk powder, the diabetes, and the food supplements, and stuff like that. And actually, they prefer the trendy products, but at the same time, they're being less price sensitive as young consumers. Yes, and also, I'd like to share something about appearance economy.
Yeah.
Yes. In Chinese it's called 颜值经济. And actually, during the Double 11 last year, there is one brand called Baby Care, and it has really wonderful sales performance. I'm gonna share with you. So on November 11, the sales in 1 minute of this brand exceeded 300 million RMB.
Whoa.
And the all-channel sales exceeded 900 million RMB, and it's ranking the first in the MIC industry. And the reason behind it, I think one of the core reasons is pretty design. Because right now the young consumers they're chasing anything that is with beautiful appearance. Not to say the apparel, the shoes, the hats, the bags, but also the products their babies are using, like the baby diapers, the baby clothes, even the baby wipes, baby milk powder. So which I think it can be an insight for the brands who are doing in this industry. when it comes to the product design. Yes.
That's beautiful. And I absolutely agree with you. The younger the mothers and fathers become, the more they put emphasis on it not only being high quality, but also really, really pretty. And when brands enter China, they need to understand what does it mean, pretty, right? Because the sense of how beautiful things are and what is a beautiful thing are a little bit different depending on, on the market and who we're talking about. And I love how you've mentioned, the two-child policy. In fact, it does change the way Chinese, see a family, right? Because right now you have siblings and maybe even not just one, but two. And of course, the dynamics is a little bit different. We have a couple of people in our office that are in their early 20s and their parents are actually very happy and very hands-off. They don't want them to, to move closer to home because they have a small child. So basically, many parents also have like 15 or sometimes even 20-year gap between the children, which I think is obviously for China unprecedented and very, very interesting. I would like to mention one thing, which is the fact that China's birth rate, in fact, last year was reported to be the lowest in 70 years. So the birth rate was reported to be 10.48 per 1,000 in 2019. That's the lowest since 1949. But at the same time, we have much lower mortality rate than before. So still the population is sort of, kept at a decent rate. But there are, of course, a lot of fears that, demographics is going to decrease significantly. And if you look at the predictions by UN, you will see that China's population by the end of this century, by the end of 2100, will actually be, I believe, half of what it is today. So around 780 million people. Obviously, we still have 80 years to go, but a lot of factors are contributing to that. The more prosperous the country, usually, the less children you have. And that happens across all markets. Look at Europe, look at, again, North America, etc. So the biggest populace in the world and population in the world will be coming from Africa and a couple of other Southeast Asian markets. But this is something very, very interesting. Definitely the quality of products that parents want to buy for their kids, and the design is very important. And we still are going to have a couple of really, really nice years. About 2040 or 2050 is going to be the year when the this population decrease will really hit, and the Chinese economy by then. That is why China is working so hard on making sure that the economy is prepared for the fact, for aging population, for the fact that the young workforce is going to shrink, and they need to have a digital economy and much more adapt to to the realities of tomorrow. I see we have Louisa here. Louisa, you want to add something or ask a question? Bringing you on stage right now. So let me remind to those that just joined, we are talking about Chinese super moms. Hi, Louisa.
Hi. I just wanted to say hi to you because we met in Singapore. We were hosting the APSS convention 2 years ago when you came as a guest speaker.
Absolutely, great to see you here. Hello.
Hi. No, I'm a Singaporean mom, so I'd love to hear whatever insights that you have to share.
When it comes to Chinese moms, well, a huge power when it comes to consumption, of course, in mainland China comes from them. And I think another very interesting and kind of obvious, because a lot of people outside of China know that already, but very interesting differentiator of Chinese mom is that, especially super mom, is that they really do their homework. I mean, when it comes to before the child arrives, they join tons and tons of clubs. They become an expert on nutrition. They become an expert on exercise. They become an expert on early education. They become an expert on, what kind of clothes is good, what kind of detergent you need to use, etc., etc. And of course, I believe that anywhere in the world, when the child arrives, the mother and father are essentially preparing for the arrival. But in China, it just goes beyond, in my at least mind, it goes beyond ordinary, right? That level of preparation. And
yes.
Syca can comment more on that, please.
Yes, I absolutely agree because for this generation, it's kind of different between the former generations. You can imagine it is the difference in parenting between in the West between the 1950s and the 1970s because we're talking about in China. The super moms and dads, they're actually the first generation of parents that they're asking new questions about parenthood rather than just simply accepting what's done before, what's taught by their moms and dads. They will be reflecting if their parenting concept, if their parenthood is the right thing for their children. So that is why they put so much focus, like they really do well on their homework. They will study a lot of things. They would even learn online courses, buy a lot of books about parenthood. And for example, when they're preparing to become a mom, so during their pregnancy, they will already start to learn about what kind of milk powder I would choose for my baby and what kind of ingredients of that milk powder is the best for my baby, and what kind of school would I want my baby to go to, and what kind of parenting technique, educational technique should I use to give him a better family growth environment. So I think that is also something interesting in China for them as a newer, an upgraded consumer group.
Yeah,
Can I
absolutely.
ask, is the information mainly coming from WeChat for them, or are there other platforms? Because like in Singapore, typical Singaporean parents will go. I mean, there are Facebook groups probably, right, for these information. What about Chinese parents?
Well, mainly the information are from social media platforms, but it is obvious that we know the social media platforms in China and in the Western countries are really different. And in China, we use WeChat, we use Weibo, we use Red, and we also have some like uh, very directly related to the maternal and infant care industry, like Baby Tree, like Meiyou. So for these kind of apps, they are mainly targeted at those mothers and pregnant women's and females consumer group. So they can receive information from various kinds of social media platforms, including the common regular ones and including the more focused ones. And that's where many brands are putting a lot of efforts to do their brand presence, digital presence, and to do their marketing strategies. Yeah.
And I actually just wanted to add very quickly that when it comes to social media platforms, obviously China has over 60 unique platforms, and everybody can find something for themselves. And there's a lot of communities. Even when you go to Douyin, there are some mothers, walking younger mothers also through the process, and Douyin is very big in education right now in mainland China, right? But look at us in Clubhouse right now, right? We are all here sharing knowledge, and it's great because this platform is so interactive. So in China, Clubhouse went viral as a hashtag on Weibo just a couple of days ago, maybe 3 or 4 days ago. And right now in China, there are already 3 or 4 similar apps that have appeared and are being very popular. So one of them is called Tu. And on that app, for instance, we already have Boju, right? So we have the essentially bloggers, right? And moderators that are talking about parenthood. And there are a lot of people joining them for these conversations. So virtually any platform, from Himalaya, which is also like a on-demand radio, to, copies of Clubhouse, to tons of other social media. That's where conversations are happening. And if you are looking into parenthood as a category to break into, I think these new platforms and voice or audio only platforms are extremely interesting, because in China these platforms like Clubhouse, they also always have subscriptions, right? So the blogger, whoever is talking, can really contribute their time and effort, because they're also being compensated for it, paid, and then they can be launching collaborations with brands, etc., etc. So it's a very integrated kind of sharing community content, and at the same time it has this monetization option which works really well in China. Natalia, you wanted to say something? Sorry, I interrupted you.
Yeah, it's. I just want to add here a little bit more about the social media, and there basically the information is coming. So because it's quite interesting to see how you differentiate what kind of the information, because they are basically the new generation of the moms. Apart from basically the information about the parenting, about basically the products, they also start searching information for themselves, basically how to recover, how to be a good mother. So that's why we can differentiate this information into different categories. And if we are just speaking about like the parenting, the basically recovery, yes, Syca was right about like mentioning the rat. And if we talk about the products, more information for the basically the new generation of the moms, video content become very, very important. Then they basically come to this community and start watching the videos. And then apart from the Douyin, last year, in 2020, was very, very popular Kwai Show. Why actually Kwai Show was popular for the mothers as well? Because on Kwai Show there was also like a shift to e-commerce, so then you can basically not only watch videos, not only basically sharing experience, but also find information about the certain products, and then you can order them. And then there was also a huge basically number of mother and baby live streamers on Kwai Show. So it was over basically 120% growth in last year. And then it's basically become more and more popular in basically the smaller, like small town cities, mothers like lower tier cities. There they basically start finding information about the local brands and basically the local companies who are producing and giving them the products which can be directly ordered.
Great insights. Thank you so much, Natalia. Yeah, so Chinese mothers and fathers, I also don't want to exclude, fathers. They are definitely a very unique breed. And as Natalia said, platforms like e-commerce platforms with a strong video push are also quite big. Mother and baby has always been, in the past, I would say 5, 7, maybe 8 years, definitely one of the biggest platforms or biggest categories also when it comes to Tmall, for instance, right? And JD is also actively developing that category as well, because again, international products are rather popular. If you guys have any questions that you would like to ask or you would like to add into this conversation about Chinese super moms and dads as a consumer group, please raise your hand and I'm going to bring you on stage as well. Syca, Natalia, Estelle, we are joined here with Estelle. If you have any insights that you would like to still share about this consumer group, please also add something on. And we have Eric here who would like to get on stage and ask us a question.
Hi, Ashley. Hi, everyone. Good morning. I'm from Brazil. I'm enthusiastic from China. I used to work on Alibaba.com back in 1998.
Phenomenal to have you here.
Thank you. My question is about live streaming, live shopping that's coming strongly in US and Latin America market, because you guys are ruling this kind of shopping experience with the high levels of conversion rates. Can you talk a little bit more about it?
Absolutely. Thank you, Eric. Absolutely. Do you have a specific direction? Do you want us to just give you basically a discovery kind of brief, or do you have a specific question when it comes to live streaming?
Just a brief. How is coming strongly to the Occident, and I just want to. I'm enthusiastic, so everything you guys talk, I want to consume.
Absolutely, absolutely. So when it comes to live streaming, I mean, today our topic is, Chinese consumers, and I would say that it doesn't matter which consumer group you belong to, but live streaming is definitely something on your agenda. Actually, just earlier today, and Eric, I will get to your question, I'm just going to start a bit, from afar. But earlier today, I actually looked through a report, which is the latest statistical report by Chinese government, where they talk about their internet development. So in this report, it was announced that right now we have almost 1,989,000,000 internet users in China. That's a huge increase since even March last year. So China has beaten all predictions when it comes to the number of internet users and the growth. So 31% of the country are still not online, but the rest are online and they are very, very active. So what else did they say? They said that 79%, almost 80% of China's internet users have shopped online. So think about that penetration rate. It's absolutely crazy. They also have mentioned that when it comes to their spending power, only about 30% of those people that have shopped online, that are essentially internet users, they have an income of 5,000 RMB or above. 5,000 RMB is $774, right? So China is obviously still a developing country. Now, what is important and how is it relevant to Eric, your question? The number of people watching videos jumped by 76 million people just over last year during this pandemic 2020, just over 9 months, to 927 million in December. So what does it mean? It means nearly 94% of all Chinese internet users, 94% are watching online videos. And 79% of the users are doing online shopping. And online shopping very often is linked with live streaming. So by looking at all these numbers, what do I want to essentially convey? That live streaming, being online, right? Being connected on a smart device, watching the videos, including live streams, and purchasing through online channels is not a trend in China anymore. It is just a daily necessity. It is just a daily reality. When it comes to live streaming, same thing. It's not a trend anymore. It's not something kind of cool coming out of China. It is a daily habit. It's a daily thing. People wake up in the morning and on the way to work, they watch an entertaining live stream. They having lunch. If they're having lunch alone, they watch a live stream, educational perhaps. In the evening, they watch a shopping live stream. Whenever they are at night, right, this our year, so essentially in the middle of the night they can't fall asleep or they want to entertain themselves, they again go and do the live streams. I think that there is so much tech with green screens, with 3D live streaming. There are just so many, essentially everybody is participating in live streams, from social media platforms to e-commerce platforms to entertainment, gaming platforms. If you are online, you are one way or another a member of this live stream economy. So this is a bit to just set the stage, and I'm sure that Estelle, Syca, Natalia will have more to say when it comes to that. Please, ladies.
Yes, I agree. And actually, I think the reason why live streaming in China is so popular and has developed so great has some reasons behind. And I think it is a combination of different factors from different angles. For example, we have very good logistics. We have very mature e-commerce platforms. And we have very developed social media platforms, and we have a very rapidly growing economic power, which also shows our consumers they have higher spending powers and consumption willings. So I think it is a combination of all those factors that make live streaming in China so popular. And I know that there are some foreign countries, they also would like to somehow copy this model, this live streaming model from China, because they see how successful it is in China. But I think it takes some process for them to adjust this strategy to their own situation. Because for different countries, the situation it might be
The
very
market
different from those angles.
absolutely the market can be different. Absolutely. I hope, Eric, that this was a meaningful insight for you.
Yes, it was amazing. Thank you, ladies.
Thank you so much. Michael, I brought you on stage.
Amazon's trying to
Oh,
do, but it's
yeah.
not working.
Eric, sorry, I cut you off. I interrupted you. What were you saying?
I'm saying, yeah, no, I was saying that in US, I've seen some Amazon trying to do it, some live streaming not working yet. Obviously, it's growing here in Brazil as well, but it's not like Chinese perception. Why do you think this difference is this behavior?
Well, I think the most important, as Syca has mentioned just now, is definitely that, you know, the consumer needs to be ready, the logistic needs to be ready, the supply chain, the also bloggers need to be ready. Like in China right now, we have a huge lack of live streamers. And one of the most popular training when it comes to marketing and sales teams is live streaming training. How well can you live stream and sell products? Live streaming e-commerce. So when it comes to rural commerce, we have about 3 million people in China that we're right now lacking to fulfill the positions to do live streaming e-commerce, not only rurally, but in general as a whole. Yeah, so
I also want to add something.
Please go ahead.
I know that, because I know for the internet celebrities, actually I know that there are a lot internet celebrities in Brazil. It is where are you from, right, Eric? If I'm not mistaken, Brazil.
Yes, I'm from Brazil.
Yeah, and just as I've mentioned, there are many celebrities, internet celebrities in your country, but it is kind of different from Brazil in China, just as Ashley has mentioned. And the supply chain, and also I think in China people they are willing to save money. They are willing to save money, and right now the China has been the only one economy body that has been recovering from the pandemic. Yes, and so people they are willing to spend. They're not afraid that if they like doing advanced consumption that they may have no money for their life. But I know that in Brazil the credit consumption and advanced consumption has been the mainly like lifestyle and consumption way for the most Brazil people, if I'm not mistaken. So I think it is also one of the reasons behind.
Yeah, you're definitely right.
Thank you so much, Eric, again. Thank you. I brought Michael on stage. Michael, you've risen your hand also earlier today. Awesome to see you here. Please do comment or ask us a question.
I am very happy to be here, Ashley. Thank you very much. So I've already learned a lot from this room. So
Thank you.
I've been on Weibo since 2014. I was back when there's probably like 8 Americans on Weibo. And I built quite a good following. But now with the seismic changes in the social media landscape in China, I'm wondering if I'm still in the right place. Now, I'm an educator at the University of California, Riverside, and I talk about education. I talk about how to get into the best colleges in the world. I talk about future-proof skills. And so I'm wondering, and I know I need to do more in video, has my demographic on Weibo left me? Should I be somewhere else, or should I still double down on the Weibo platform?
This is a great question. I'm going to set a stage here. I would say that video is definitely becoming a lot more popular. A good friend of mine who is also an educator, he was being very successful when it comes to Douyin. And a lot of people, when they think about Douyin, they think about, you know, those young teenagers jumping around with filters and being silly. But there is a big educational segment on Douyin, which is growing in China right now. So there are definitely platforms to explore. I personally, especially based on last year's results, I'm not a big fan of Weibo. I feel that Weibo has definitely moved much closer to where Facebook is when it comes to algorithms, and it prevents organic content from being distributed. So essentially, if you have 1 million followers and then you publish a post and you do not sponsor advertising for your own followers on Weibo, then you will have very, very few thousand people that will see your content organically. So it's not an organic, platform as such. They want you to spend money in advertising, and then they are, helping you. So right now, because there's a lot of fake followers on Weibo, there's a lot of fake interactions. They are definitely trying to revamp. Weibo has right now even issued some of the, let's say, packages. Their team says, you know what, pay us $100,000 for 3 months and we're going to write you content and help you with this and with bloggers and with advertising, with this and that. So it's very interesting. They're definitely trying to become a better platform and clean it up. But again, based on last year's results with a few clients and projects, I'm just not the biggest fan of Weibo at this particular stage. Nonetheless, it is still important for hot topics, for following certain trends and understanding some, especially gossip, and I would say, celebrity kind of chasing market sentiment. But I personally believe that there are other platforms where more organic reach is possible. But let us ask Natalia, let us ask Syca, what do they feel?
Yeah. Speaking of foreigners, just as Ashley has mentioned, actually when I'm reviewing Douyin, which is TikTok in China, I've already seen many foreign KOLs. They are very active in Douyin, and they will share how to speak English. They will share their marriage between and Chinese people, their everyday life, share how their culture is different from China. So, and they many of them have already more than 2 to 3 million followers. Yes, and I believe they are doing quite successful in the short video platforms such as Douyin, TikTok. And also, one thing I'd like to mention about is on Weibo, very high quality. But right now, if you don't do any post boosting or you don't do any media buy, although with the high quality content, it's very difficult for you to reach more audience, for you to exert a bigger or a higher influence, and it is due to the algorithm of Weibo. So, and actually in China, most of the KOLs, when it comes to social media platforms, what they would tend to do is they would do this social media platforms matrix. They would not only establish their digital presence in one platform, they would do different platforms. And by doing these things all together, they will create a higher influential presence among the followers, among the audience. For example, you can choose Red 小红书 by posting notes on whatever content you really want to share with the audience by using short videos. And you can also choose Bilibili, which is a very niche, but on that platform, the young people, especially the well-educated people, are their main audience. And this Bilibili is also one of the most trendy platforms in China. And actually on that platforms, the educational content is very popular. So from my personal suggestion, I would say, despite personal suggestions for you.
Thank you. Thank you, Syca. Natalia, anything to add?
Yeah, I was also actually planning to mention Bilibili because I see lots of potential here, especially targeting younger consumers. So Generation Z, they become more creative there. So I totally agree with everything that Syca said about the video platforms.
That's great. And I would like to mention one thing. You can also reach some Chinese, especially affluent young Chinese, on IG and YouTube, even though, of course, they need VPN to access it. but this might be, again, if you're creating videos, for instance, for Bilibili, it is very common that you repost those videos with proper meta description also on YouTube, for instance, right? If you are publishing some cool stuff on Weibo with pretty pictures, then you're also republishing it and starting building your IG, Instagram, right? So I would also say do not underestimate that you can still build quite a good followership, you know, on some Western platforms as a diversification, right? Because essentially you don't want to keep all the eggs in one basket. Michael, hope that this was useful.
Yes, thank you very much, everybody. I wish I could double down and get onto Douyin, but of course, being an American, I'm not going to let me on. But everyone has given me some very actionable advice that I'm putting in practice. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Michael. I brought Vivian on stage. Vivian, you've risen your hand. Wonderful to have you here.
Thank you, Ashley. Actually, I raised my hand when you guys were discussing the live streaming, because I am actually studying as a full MBA candidate. But before my study, I worked in a marketing agency in China. So I happened to worked on some live streaming event execution. So I just wanted to add on that why the Chinese netizens are more willing to join the live streaming to make the purchase. One key reason behind it is about the live streaming host, the influencer. They're not working individually. They had a team, and those team really holds a very strong bargaining power with the brands, with the product provider. They are asking for the cheapest, sometimes for the cheapest prices. So I think another biggest reason that people are willing to join the live streaming to make the purchase is they could get a cheaper price. So lots of people are willing to buy.
Absolutely, Vivian, you are absolutely right. So in China, indeed, more than 95% of bloggers belong to MCNs, right? So these multi-channel networks, and they have a team behind it. Like, for example, Via, right? China's biggest live streamer. She's got a team of 40 to 50 people just helping you select the products for daily live streams. And as you said, if you want to work with an MCN, it's not that you come to a blogger or say, oh, here's Ashley, but you go to an MCN and then they tell you, okay, here are the bloggers you can afford. That's how much it's going to cost. That's how cheap your product must be. So it usually needs to be at least 15 to 30% below the price found anywhere else online. So it's the cheapest price on the internet. Plus, of course, when you sell and promote with them, you need to pay them a commission. You need to pay them their fees, etc. So it's a really big machine that supports live streamers.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, that was beautiful. Thank you so much for adding, Vivian. Really appreciate that.
Thank you.
We have In here. I'm going to bring you on stage right now.
Hi, Ashley.
Hello.
Thank you for giving me the space. It's great talking to you finally in real time. Just reached out to you a few times over LinkedIn and been following your content.
Thank you.
Thank you a lot. I would just make a comment about Eric. Actually, is my partner in a live streaming project. So, but just to give maybe a little bit more insights what I think about the difference from live streaming e-commerce in the West, or what's happening in the West compared to China. I think one point that actually Vivian just brought is very important about the KOLs, the influencers. Because in China, most of the live streaming sales are over social networks, like even Taobao, I think could be considered one, and not because I make this compare. And the influencers, they act as curators. They pick the brands, and they have the bargaining power. And meanwhile, in the West, what I'm seeing is that most of the live shows that try to sell, they are made by the brands themselves. So the discount usually is not that high as what you get in China. Another point I think is the maturity of the Chinese consumer, Chinese users with live streaming. So in the West, we still don't have that behavior as widespread as in China. So people are already used to watch live videos in China through all these live streaming services. And here in the West, we're still watching not live feeds. So this is something that I think, at least in Brazil, during the pandemic, we have a lot of live music shows in the beginning. So it's helping to educate people to watch the shows live, because this is something that we didn't have before. So I think there's still differences, and the markets are getting educated towards going towards the live streaming. And I think maybe we will not have the same kind of penetration that in China, but we'll be in the middle ground.
Absolutely, and thank you so much for the insight. I think it's very, very important to understand that curation indeed is very often the key, because it's not just selling. You know, if Chanel comes to you and says, "Oh, sell my product, and I'm gonna pay you as a channel." Yeah, like a TV channel, but now you're going to be a blogger channel. That's one relationship. But when they come to you and you are selecting their product, and you can also give your opinion about the product to your audience, quite frankly. And I love giving the example of Li Jiaqi. Very often he is paid for promoting a brand, right? But then he says, "Oh, the color is great, but the packaging is horrible." And then everybody laughs, right? But they essentially follow his recommendation. Of course, it is a bargain. And as you mentioned, maybe currently most of the countries out there will not be able to get to the point where China is, because infrastructure is not there, because the bloggers are not operating under the same level. But essentially, at the end of the day, I believe that when it comes to e-commerce, a lot of e-commerce is going to be done live. Even if you want to buy those Nike shoes, there will be an opportunity for you to go to Nike online store, and there will be a live stream there explaining, and not just explaining you general Nike products, but that specific shoe that you are after. And I believe that in a couple of years from now, it's not going to be just people, but we're also going to have virtual KOLs. And sometimes it's going to be a blend between a human and a virtual KOL. But essentially, you will be able, just like have this on-demand TV, right? On-demand explanation about the product, going live any time of the day, talking to you. And this is very often where we are heading, I believe, in general.
Yes, absolutely. I think still, probably most of the people still will be following the KOLs, not following the brands, probably most part. And because of what you mentioned, this building the reputation and building the relationship, people love to follow real people. They want authenticity, they want storytelling, and brands can offer that. But still, you want a behavior, you want something that maybe is unexpected. This is something that brands cannot exactly give. So this is why I think still, if we still keep this trend in China, that most of the live commerce goes through the social networks, probably the behavior will be like this. This is what I'm expecting in the West. If the live commerce, the live streaming sales will go through social commerce, social networks like Instagram, Facebook, when they build their own, or if we are going to see specialized vertical apps that are social network, or the third option will be the brands making their own live shows through maybe their own app or their own website. You know, this is something that I think we were going to expect to see what's going to happen here.
Absolutely. And this blend between e-commerce and social media and live streaming and bloggers curating. Natalia, can you please mute yourself? I can hear the feedback. Thank you so much. Thank you. I think that this is definitely the future, and that's what in China essentially is happening right now. E-commerce platforms are opening out social media features and powered by live streaming, right? And all social media platforms already have their shops and checkout and even digital currency. So that is, the game is already afoot. And to what you have just now mentioned in when it comes to people doing business indeed, everybody wants to follow a real human being. Nobody wants to do business with Virgin Atlantic, but everybody loves Richard Branson because we want to do business with somebody we know, we like, and we trust. This is purely human psychology. And, let's remember, guys, that we still have our 2 million year old brain. And some things just don't change so easily. We still love human connection and human interaction. Absolutely. Thank you so much, In, for bringing this up. I'm going to move on to Vincent. Vincent, you have also sent us a hello. So do please unmute yourself, say hi, and ask a question if you have one.
Hi, Ashley. Thanks for bringing me up. I've been following you on LinkedIn for a bit, quite some time. Yeah, thanks.
Awesome to have you here.
I want to, add on Michael's, since I'm a father, even though my son is only 8 years old, second grade in Shanghai, but just want to add, because I studied in the US before also. I think I quickly looked at, Michael, your Weibo and your LinkedIn. I think your background, your very excellent history of background working at engineering company, big US engineering company and program and all this project management experience, you can focus on that and bring that message on social media, particularly on those, like how to prepare yourself as an engineering student, what it's like to work as an engineer, what is it like work as a project manager. These things, I think these are very interesting for a lot of students, young Chinese students that are thinking about getting into the engineering field or that sort of track. Because nowadays a lot of these content needs to be very focused so that people will know that you are like an expert in this field, and then they will know that, okay, when I need if I want to be an engineer, I want to see what it's like, then I would follow Michael because he's the guy, So yeah, that's just what I want to share. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Vincent. Indeed, finding a niche and, sticking to that niche and really making sure that you're very highly specialized, especially in a market like China, which is highly saturated, is very often the key. And that is true to bloggers, individual contributors, and of course to brands, the same thing. First, dominate a very, very niche industry, and then you can expand from there onwards. Beautiful insights. Thank you so much, Vincent, for sharing. Awesome, guys. If you have any questions, as mentioned, just raise your hand and we're going to bring you on stage to have a chat. Meanwhile, let's move on. Today we spoke about, let me remind those that just joined the room, we spoke about Chinese super moms and super dads. Then we moved on to talk about live streaming e-commerce here with the guys' contribution. And shall we loop back and talk about one more consumer group in China? So earlier today we announced that we are also going to talk about power women. Natalia, that was the group that you have chosen today. And just before going there, I'm gonna bring Vicento here because he's just raising a hand. I think it's might be related to some of the topics that we've covered. And then we're gonna go to one more group. Vicento, hi, how are you?
Hey, doing great. And how? Thanks. So should I ask my question now?
Please do.
Cool. I was wondering, how big is the opportunity in China, of Chinese customers that are looking at influencers from outside of China on Instagram and similar social networks? I don't know if you know what I mean, right? So I'm trying to understand, do you have any data around how many Chinese customers are active on Instagram and are actively looking at foreign influencers?
Yeah, thanks for your question. Just earlier today when we were speaking with Michael about his followership on Weibo, one of the recommendations that I've shared was don't overlook YouTube and Instagram. So essentially, I do not have numbers. Why? Well, first of all, that these numbers shall be somehow shared by VPN providers that are illegal in China. And obviously, there's no official ranking. But I would say, based on my experience, when it comes to some of the bloggers, mainland Chinese bloggers that are extremely popular, or let's say mid-sized bloggers, right? And then they open their IG and YouTube channels. They see that about 30 to 60% of the followers actually double from, they follow them on IG and they follow them on Weibo. So if this is of any indication, you can consider that. But depending on the industry, of course, depending on the consumer group, I would say that those that go to Instagram and YouTube, for instance, very often are Instagram very often are women. When it comes to YouTube, a good friend of mine is running a Bilibili channel with 500,000 followers in China. And she also has a very successful YouTube channel with about 150,000 followers. And most of them are again from China, sometimes overseas Chinese, but primarily from mainland China, also watching her content there. So it is definitely an opportunity, but I think that purely, targeting Chinese with purely overseas platforms like IG and YouTube might be a bit premature, because it's not such a, still, it's a big spread, right? Maybe Syca, Natalia, maybe anybody else has insights on that. Please raise your hand, or please just unmute yourself and share with us. And Syca's on. Sorry, go ahead.
Yes, I agree. And I think the VPN problem is the biggest problem, because for the consumers in China, they're not that easy to access to the foreign apps such as Instagram or YouTube. Whereas for us like mainland Chinese in Hong Kong, or the students who has been studying abroad while they are in foreign countries, they may have better access, and they might do the shopping behaviors. But also here, actually right now in China, there is a trend called Haitao, which is going shopping overseas through overseas internet, through overseas websites. So for those young consumers who have those access to use VPN to visit foreign websites, they may have also checked the Instagram and also the YouTubers' recommendations, and then they will go directly to the overseas websites to make the consumption, because if they're doing them in mainland China, the price would be much higher. So they would consider the cost, and they would just do the consumption through the foreign websites. This is also one of the trends among the Chinese young consumers, which is called Haitao. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Syca, for your insights. Vicente, hope we did deliver some insight.
Yeah, amazing stuff. I have one quick follow-up question, if I can.
Sure.
Is there any tool to search for Chinese influencers that is easy to use for like non-Chinese speakers like myself?
I would say if there is a campaign in mind, then there is a tool which is called Park Lu. But you need to already upload your budget, and you need to like prepare a whole very comprehensive brief about what the campaign is about. It's all in English. It can be English and Chinese both, and then they essentially help you look for the blogger to fit this campaign budget, and then they also take a commission obviously for the service. So it's like SaaS that helps you do that. But when it comes to KOL search engines, I'm not aware of the one that is fully in English and works well, but I'm sure there are, because there are hundreds of KOL search engines. However, I must warn you, because very often they just focus on the numbers. So they tell you how many number of followers or engagement does the blogger have, and that's how they rank them. But in China, this is absolutely irrelevant, because everything can be bought and sold. And if you're just following the recommendation of algorithm, it might turn out to be a total waste of money and not very effective, right? So very often, if you want to look for bloggers, you go to an MCN, so multi-channel network, or you go to a marketing agency, or you're using 4 or 5 tools to compare, what are they saying, and then you pick the bloggers, and then you always do an audit of their pages to see, whether it makes sense. And for all of that, you need to possess obviously Chinese skills in order to go to a few engines and then, audit their pages. So that's how I see that. Maybe Natalia, Syca have other insights.
No, I just agree with you. Yes, because normally when foreigners they're looking for Chinese KOLs, they will usually tend to find the Chinese Chinese agencies or the MCNs. Yeah.
Perfect.
I just want to add, you can try KOL Rank, and you use KOLrank.com, and you try to use Google Translate, see if they translate to English.
Vincent, great idea. Yes, Google Translate to help.
Yeah.
I love the idea, and I love your name.
Yeah.
Well, it's the same, we have the same name.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, thanks, guys. I have a ton of questions, but I'll let other people speak. This is such an interesting room. It's really my favorite. I feel like I'm traveling to China without moving. So share for organizing this every day. It's amazing.
Thank you so very much. I appreciate that. We have two more questions. Okay, so let me bring here Du Te Wang. Hello. He's joining us right now. Hello.
Hello. Thank you for having me. I just want to provide a little more extra information to Vincenzo's question. There is a special website named newrank.cn. Newrank.cn in Chinese it is Xinba. It's a list of all kinds of KOL popular official accounts. Maybe you can check it out. They also have WeChat official accounts. They update their list all the time, and as far as I know, they also provide the service the moderator described of the providing of all kinds of KOL. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Du Te Wang. It's very interesting. In fact, yes, New Rank is one of the biggest, ranking agencies. But essentially, yes, they also are co-working with MCNs, and I personally don't think their ranking may be translated into English, so you can make sense of that information. But it might as well be. I haven't checked it in English, so we send to definitely give it a try. Thank you.
Yes, and I just want to.
Go ahead, Syca.
Yeah, thank you, sir. So I just want to add on a little bit because when it comes to the KOL selection, I believe the list of KOL is not the most important thing, because essentially for the foreign companies, if taking an example for foreign companies, I think the most important thing is that we can know what this KOL. What was the influence of this KOL? What kind of consumer groups this KOL is targeting at? So I think it needs a deeper understanding of this person, like not only by the KOL list. Yeah, that's just my personal suggestion. Thank you.
I just wanted to make sure I understood the spelling of what Peter was saying. So it's just newrank.cn.
That's right.
Nice. Thanks.
Perfect. Thank you. Awesome. I've brought Wei Dan here. Wei Dan, how are you?
Hi, Ashley. Thanks for organizing. This is great.
Phenomenal to have you here.
I wanted to add a few points about the KOL part. So other than the rank, like someone has already mentioned, you need to look at a few more things. For example, you don't just want to look at the follower base or engagement. Right now, in Weibo and some of the other platforms, there's a lot of fictitious engagements. So as in Shuijun, there's a lot of fake accounts, bots, driven engagements that you're basically paying for them without generating any value. And there's also another matrix, which is intent to purchase. So or intent to purchase or purchase power. So you want to make sure that you're targeting on the right audience who have the same purchase intent and power as what you're selling. So these are the data that you might want to look at on top of just the ranking itself. If you want to talk more about this, I'm running a data company that we do a lot of digging into this. We don't just do influencers or KOLs. We also do a lot of stuff. If you want to talk more about it, I'm happy to talk to you offline to give you a little more insights into this. Thank you.
Thanks very much. Very meaningful. And you guys can talk offline about it as well. And indeed, as mentioned, just looking at the numbers never makes sense. You need to make sure that it's the right audience, and also the blogger is actually, if your goal, right, is to sell, then the blogger needs to be able to sell. If your goal is to entertain or educate, you also need to make sure that the blogger has the engagement and the eyeballs, etc., etc. So essentially, whenever we do a promotion with the blogger or any sort of promotion in China or outside of China, we need to first determine very clearly what is the purpose also of this campaign. Is it to sell? Is it to raise awareness? Or is it to build a CRM? Very often we are trying to bulk all of them together in one go, and that becomes extremely difficult because we are not able to reach any of these goals. So this is a way done to just add on to your point, which was very meaningful. Let me bring Catherine. Catherine is also here waving at us, and she wants to I think say hi and ask a question. Catherine, you are on stage.
Hi, Ashley.
Hello.
I didn't want to ask a question. Hi. I didn't want to actually ask a question. I don't know how it looks like I'm raising my hand.
I've got no idea, but you've been waving at me like 3 times. But if you don't have a question, it's fine. But if you do, we are all ears.
No, thank you. I am just listening and lurking today.
Absolutely. Gorgeous. And then we have Nick here. We have Nick and we still have Chris. Okay, so let's go one by one. Nick, I'm bringing you on.
Hi, Ashley. Thanks very much for hosting. As always, really appreciate every one of your sessions. Learning so much.
Thank you.
My question is, to be honest, I'm still going through the 600-page document, so I probably have a lot of questions. Congratulations for publishing that deck. My question today is related to the cost of these KOL campaigns, which obviously has risen over the years. And so, are there ways for clients that basically want to hedge the cost and want to make sure that as and when they go on the bigger budget, they get results they would expect? Are there ways to de-risk that by sort of A/B testing in smaller batches? And in the context of COVID over the last year or so, to the extent that brands may be reallocating budget, some of them double down in China, some of them are kind of more cautious about China. They're waiting until they can really sort of come back. Are you seeing KOL campaigns overseas? So my question is, are there, for example, in London or in America or in parts of Europe or Asia where there would be enough of a local-based Chinese, sort of that KOL community? Is that an option for brands that want to test ideas at let's say a lower budget?
Yeah, great question. Thank you very much, Nick. I'm going to set the stage and then, of course, open to our panel here. When it comes to your first question was about the ways to test out KOL effectiveness. So of course there is a KOL metrics. You don't just go in with $1 million and say, let me just put all this money into Via or Li Jiaqi. Even though we know that these guys can, sell and they're usually very good at what they do. It's not the fact that they're going to pick your product. They will also ask you to, as said, drop your prices significantly. So very often, still, even cooperating with them, paying millions of dollars, together, right, collectively, you might still come out of it very often with negative ROI, because the purpose of this campaign is really get a lot of eyeballs, get a lot of engagement, get a lot of sales, yes, but essentially it's very, very rarely a positive ROI. When it comes to, as you said, smaller brand and smaller kind of test budget, you always pick a bunch of bloggers. Let's just make it simple and say 10 bloggers. And then you audit them, and then you build a matrix, for example, saying 3 of them are bigger bloggers and then the other 7 are small bloggers. Or you say 1 is big, 2 medium, and everybody else is a small blogger. And then you test it. So essentially you run a campaign. This is your baseline campaign. What you do later on, you are improving on your baseline. So very often, clients or companies, marketing departments come and say, oh, can you share with us what could be the effect? How much can we sell? How many people are going to be online? If somebody promises you the eyeballs or promises you the engagement, then beware, because they're going to purchase it. There's no such thing as, sure deal. It just doesn't exist. But you can always buy very cheaply on Taobao any kind of engagement, any kind of eyeballs. And even you can buy purchases. So that is why very often, if somebody, for example, even sometimes MCNs, some nasty, well, not nasty, I cannot say that, but some less business-minded or too much of business-minded MCNs, what they do is they tell you, we guarantee sales. So you pay us 100,000 RMB, we guarantee that we're going to sell for 70,000 RMB. So based on our data, we guarantee that. What happens then is on the day the live streaming's up, a lot of fakes go online, they actually purchase your product for 70,000. And then on, let's say, Taobao live stream, right? There is always on all live streaming platforms, there's a return policy. So second day, they just refund it all to you. And then you end up with really bad score because your product was shipped out and then it was refunded, and you end up losing money and, still doing this fake kind of promotion. So what I'm saying is, there is no historic data. If you've never run a campaign in China, there's no historic data that is directly relevant. Everything is a prediction. Obviously, a marketing agency, an MCN, etc., blogger can give you some guidelines, but everything is a prediction before you run your first campaign. After you've run your first campaign, then this is your baseline. All you want to do is improve on this baseline. So you look at the 10 bloggers that you worked with and you say, oh, you know what? Half of them were actually great, and half of them I want to work with again, or just one I want to work with again. Others I need to change. And that's how you select your bloggers. And of course, you need to do a lot of audit before you bring them into this pool. And as I mentioned, also each campaign is different. Is it a sales campaign? Completely different mechanics. Is it an awareness campaign? Different mechanics, different platforms, different bloggers. Is this a database campaign? Are you trying to create a CRM of your potential customers? Are you trying to get their phone number or WeChat ID or something else? So you need to really plan that out. So this is to comment on your first question. And very briefly on the second question, you were asking whether or not you can test something small budget outside of mainland China with some overseas Chinese community. Absolutely. And that's what a lot of department stores are doing, from Galeries Lafayette to, you just name it, from Germany to France to Canada, right? So you can tap into that community. You can always find bloggers, and you can, see how they can support whatever you're trying to achieve. So these are a few of my thoughts, and Syca, Natalia, and the rest of the guys that are on stage here, if you have anything to add, please go ahead.
Hi, Nick. I want to absolutely agree with Ashley. I think there are a couple of things that you can do to kind of maximize your opportunity here. You can look at, if it's like a platform with open follower base, where you can see the engagement between the influencers and their audience, you can actually pick a sample. Especially if it's a big budget, you pick a sample and you look at some of the followers or active engagements, and you can click into them and see what they usually post. Sometimes they would sort of post what they bought or their daily activities. You can pretty much tell if this person is close to your target audience. If they're close, then you can do a little sampling. For example, if they have like 10,000 followers, you can just kind of look at 20, 30 of them. That would give you a pretty good idea. And sometimes if you're trying to drive ROI especially, sometimes you can tell that whoever the followers are not even within sort of your price target, your price range that you're targeting at. For example, they're constantly buying. They're showing off that they got a discount on Taobao for a 20 RMB t-shirt, for example, but you're selling something that's around the 200 RMB range. If you get like a lot of these people, that's an indicator of maybe that's not a good influencer when it comes to ROI. Or you can look at some of the brands that they already represented. If you're targeting on brand awareness or brand equity, if they're already representing some of the brands that are not aligned with yours, then that's not a good KOL. These are the things that you can do. Some of the big brands that we work with, we crawl data and we look at all of the influencers and all of the audience, but it was like about 1 or 2% of sample. It's already statistically significant for you to be able to tell whether they're good. So before you put in the budget, you can do something like that. And the other trick is that some bigger influencers, they have like a channel, e-commerce channel, or they're selling products on Taobao or Tmall. You can go onto the page and see the relevant sales. You can pretty much tell with your price range or your competitors or similar products with similar audience, for example, how much are they selling there? You can pretty much tell. And what are some of the commentaries? Are they returning? Are they complaining about the products? To get like a preliminary assessment of who they are before paying for them.
Thank you so much, Wei, and thank you for adding on to that. Awesome. I think we've covered that. We have a couple of other hands here. Let me see. We have Chris still, and then we have Urvash. Okay, let's go with Chris first, because you've been waiting for a while. Hello, Chris. Bringing you on stage right now.
Hello, can everybody hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Hi, Chris. How are you?
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, thank you. Good. Yeah, thank you for bringing up this topic. It's very interesting and dynamic, and as especially with Kuaishou going IPO today.
Yay! Big day.
Yeah, big time. Up a lot. And yeah, here I have a question to ask the audience. What do you guys think about WeChat channel's future? And how do you think the role of WeChat channel will evolve over time? How mainstream or how relevant would you think it will be? And how will it shape into the short video competitive landscape and dynamics over time? And also my second question is also from this WeChat channels. And we noticed that Snapchat has launched a spotlight function. It is a bit similar to TikTok, and it is also a bit similar to WeChat channels in that it is an in-app function. And would like to hear your thoughts. Maybe some of you are based in the US or in Europe. How do you think about this spotlight initiative going to evolve over time? If you compare that to WeChat channels in China, and how relevant would it be? Also in terms of marketing and in terms of monetization opportunities. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Chris. Thank you. So in terms of WeChat channels, actually just yesterday we also had a very brief discussion about WeChat channels, and I think Syca had quite a bit of insight into them. Would you like to share, Syca, Natalia?
Well, yes, sure. But before that, may I just adding a little bit regarding next question about the KOL?
For sure. Go ahead.
Yeah. Because right now I actually quite understand the question, and actually your answer is pretty comprehensive and also way dense. And I just want to add in a little bit because right now many brands, when they are entering into China or try to get a better performance in China, choosing KOL is often their common strategies, one of the common strategies they would use. But actually it is not an easy job because often choosing KOL is only the first step. The following steps are also very important. For example, if we are choosing a KOL to do the brand promotion on Red, so firstly we have to make sure that the position of this KOL, let's say the tone and the manner of this KOL, if it is consistent, if it is really suitable for our brand. And secondly, after we choose this KOL, the content he or she produces for the brand, if it is really good, really authentic, really attractive, and very unique. So this quality of this content is also something that the brands needs to pay attention to. And also the following promotions such as the post boosting, the media buy. If after we choosing the KOL, this media buy, this boost posting has not followed up, then this KOL campaign might not be that successful as well. So it is a combination of different techniques when it comes to the KOL strategy. That's something.
Absolutely. Thank you, Syca. You've just muted yourself, but this is awesome. So we've added on to Nick's question. I think you got quite a bit of insight there. I hope that it was helpful, Nick. Now, moving back to Chris's question, which was about WeChat channel. And for those who do not know what it is, essentially in, if I'm not mistaken, summer last year, WeChat launched the new, let's call it TikTok-like or Douyin-like feature where you can share videos, you can share up to 9 pictures as well, and essentially share your feed, right, with more insights and information. So this is part of WeChat super app, right? So Syca, yesterday we were talking about it, and Natalia, we were talking about it as well. Do you have any insight on, Chris was asking, the future of these channels, basically how are they performing right now, and what is the future, what is our view on that? Natalia?
Yeah, I actually have here a view on Chris' question because recently, in WeChat channels, there become possible to basically do live streaming. And then for me, basically the most important indicator about the future development is how basically local companies react to the different platforms updates. And then I see basically as a Perfect Diary was one of the basically first companies who started doing live streaming there. So, and then they actually got lots of viewership here. So I feel that basically the further development will be really helpful, and then with some kind of the testing modes, so we can see that it will be more developed and bring more opportunities for basically the brands, the consumers to interact with each other and know more.
So Natalia, are you positive on the channels? Because from where I am, I think that let's hope that WeChat will do a better job with this function than with some other social functions, right? Because WeChat unfortunately hasn't been always successful when they roll out some social media functions that are helping, marketers to establish relationship with their audience. They are very good with their technical stuff, and they're very good at, capturing the need, like through their mini programs, which originally was like, oh my God, what is this? And then everybody figured out that this is not a marketing function. This is a great app within an app, right? Feature, which is essentially the heart and soul of WeChat ecosystem. But when it comes to this, it is an interesting marketing, education, connection function. Let's hope that they're going to be more successful at promoting it and giving visibility to it. I think the problem personally with WeChat's marketing experiments is that WeChat is not a marketing app. It is an app that has a very unforgiving algorithm that is limiting your reach the bigger you grow, not giving you more boost. Like if on LinkedIn I publish a post and it is popular in the first 2 hours, then it's going to be continuously shown to people, and it's going to be only more popular. Even 2 weeks from now, this post can be still reaching people. On WeChat, it's very, very different. You publish, and you obviously the content only goes out to your small group of people that are following you. And right now with the new WeChat 8.0, by the way, guys, we can already see that when we add new people, we need to choose whether these people we add only for chat, right? So they can only see our chat history, or we add these people so they can also see our other interactions, they can see our moments, they can see our channels, etc., etc. So they keep obviously WeChat semi-closed platform, and this is one of the reasons why on the one hand it is very shareable and there's a lot of word of mouth, and obviously 100% I would say of Chinese netizens are on WeChat, and we feel comfortable there. But on the other hand, it's not been successful with marketing because the platform was not built for marketing. So for me, WeChat channel is a marketing feature. I hope it's going to be successful, but from what I see right now, it's still not, it's definitely not, it's definitely not Douyin. It's definitely not there yet. I think it has potential, but it's all in implementation. How much traffic, how much views, how much of that shareable kind of excitement, social excitement, are they going to be giving to this specific feature? So it might take here a little bit. But Natalia, are you optimistic about channels?
I can't say that I'm optimistic, but I actually see potential there, as you mentioned. So that's why I'm just curious about how it will be developing. So I think that at least it's quite interesting move. And I also think that basically with all other platforms development, so they have to make it successful. So because with such competition, with all these
survive or die, win or die, develop or die, evolve or die. Yeah.
Yeah, so this is something that I think.
Chris, I hope that was meaningful for you.
Yeah, very helpful.
Very helpful. Thank you. Yes. Thank you. And then there was a second part of the question. You were asking about Western platforms, correct?
Snap, yeah.
Yeah, Snap. Okay. Anybody has experience with that and would like to share? Okay, well, it seems that nobody is very comfortable talking about that at this stage, but we are gonna keep
China only here.
Yeah, China only here. I mean, I don't really, again, I don't feel comfortable talking about it because I'm not an expert in that field. But if somebody, that somebody gets on stage and would like to add on conversation, let's definitely keep this going. Okay, so this is the time for Urvash to get on stage, bring you on, and then I see in the pipeline the Boggy as well. So Urvash, you are on right now. Hello.
I've been listening on to what everybody's talking about, and it's a very interesting conversation. My question, I want to shift a little the focus a little bit over to live streaming, and I apologize if this was already discussed because I joined the club a little late. But so I'm doing strategy for LVMH. I'm doing digital and marketing strategy for them. So my question is primarily pertaining to luxury brands. I don't know if you guys have seen the recent shows that Louis Vuitton or Dior did recently. And my question is primarily pertaining to that. What is the correct format, or what is the right mantra for all these luxury brands to live stream in China? And the reason why I'm asking is Louis Vuitton started last year with their first live stream show, which was not really well accepted here. But then they had this fashion show 2 weeks back with Virgil Abloh, which was really well received. It did not have any Asian connection per se, but everybody really liked it. And on the other hand, what Dior did with their fashion show was an all-Asian panel discussion before the show started. and it was not received well. So that's my question. What is the right strategy for all these brands to have a really successful live stream campaign in China?
Thank you so much, Urvash. I think that there's no one size fit all because China is evolving so fast all the time. So you need to catch the right sentiment and you need to hit the right nerve, but at the same time, stay on brand. So I think this is the biggest challenge with China. Is that sometimes brands are doing something, and as you said, Dior was on Chinese social media received like an absolute disaster. Well, some others, receive very positive feedback, and people are wondering why. Well, we are actually going to have a very cool masterclass coming up in March about live streaming in China. It's not going to be specifically about luxury live streaming, but it's going to be about how to write a great script, what are the platforms, what are the features in China right now in 2021, and how to make sure that, we are collaborating with bloggers properly, etc., etc. Your question is more about a brand launching this event, which is live streamed onto people. So I think what you need to do, no one size fit all, but what you need to do is learn from the best. Who is the best? The best are the huge galas, shopping galas. Again, if your purpose is to educate, entertain, and sell in one go, then learn from the biggest galas. We have Alibaba Gala that's been going on for 5-6 years. We have JD also has their little event with Pinduoduo, Kuaishou, etc. They have all their events, but the biggest one and the coolest one is definitely Alibaba Gala 11/11. Look at that extravaganza. It's huge, it's gorgeous, it has entertainment, it has big names, it has breakout rooms, it has tech features, and if you really want to set, and again I'm talking about your type of luxury live streaming, which is more like a fashion show, which is more like an event, a showcase, and also obviously onboarding of some consumers and educating and telling brand stories. So then I would say break down what Alibaba is doing and pick the elements, put them together into a shorter event. Obviously it's not going to be 24 hours or 8 or 9 hours as Alibaba, and maybe not as grand, but you can definitely learn a lot of beautiful mechanics, techniques, and even I would say you can put a checklist that would be very relevant and very on point, because every year 11/11 has a theme. Every year 11/11 is actually forward looking. It's not something that, and that's where luxury industry, and correct me if I'm wrong, but very often is, we see what's happening and then we are always looking at what worked for others as of other industries or other regions, and then we go and we do it. But 11/11 Gala is always forward looking, what hasn't been done yet but is just being birthed. And I believe that, learning from them, from the previous year, we just had 11/11 in 2020, and essentially putting them together in your strategy, that would be, a big step towards a successful event. Anybody else has insights? Syca, Natalia?
Yeah, I just would like to mention here that I totally agree with you about the format. And I think that there is actually two crucial things before you go into live streaming, what you need to first identify. First, the format technically, as you mentioned, is it like event and it's like a show or it's like a session, then you do it. And then the second one is actually you need to identify the outcome which you want to achieve, because earlier today we already spoke about it for the KOL campaign, and then it's the same actually about live streaming. What you try to do with live streaming, what's your outcome here? I try to sell product, I try to basically entertain consumers, or you try basically to bring more brand awareness, which is also possible, or you try them to educate about the new product launch. And then once you identify these like basically two things, then you can already start thinking about what's actually their action, how you basically drive them to the outcome which you want to achieve.
Yes, and I also want to add on a little bit, because I think the most usual live streamings are about everyday stuff, like everyday goods, the daily products. But overall, people have higher expectation when it comes to the luxury brands. So when we are talking about live streaming, it's always about the three main factors. So the first one is the person, the people. And and second one is the products, and the third one is the scenario. So it's always about the combination of the three main factors. And for example, if a luxury brand is doing a live streaming of selling some goods, let's say bags or clothes or shoes, so we have to think from different angles. For example, about the scenario. So we have, because people have higher expectation, because we have to match the scenario to the brand's tone and manner. So it's often, we can see, for example, I remember there is one live streaming show of LV in red. So they're selling, I think, the shoes and the apparel, the clothes, but the scenario is pretty, let's say, maybe too easy, just not that luxuries. It's not that matching with the tone of LV. So the scenario is pretty important, and also the live streamer is very important too, because when consumers they're reviewing the or they're reviewing the advertisements, so they can see very like luxury faces or very high-end faces, high-end feelings. But if we are choosing the wrong live streamer, let's say if the live streamer she has very sweet faces, so that might be some gap between the live streamer and the brand's image. So all in all, what I'm trying to put here is it is a, let's say, a complicated strategy to doing a live streaming to fulfill its impact and to do it well. Yes, and this is my personal suggestion for you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Syca. Urvash, has it answered or shed some light or answered some part of the question that you had?
Yes, I did get some insights. Thank you so much, everybody, for your inputs. Although I do want to just point out a fact that when we do talk about live streaming with all these luxury brands, they already have a very fair idea of the audience and the format that they're going to use. I guess the higher question over here would be, what is the right method to connect to the audience? And I guess that is something that, from what I understand with all the discussion, is we will just have to learn as we go along, because it's just going to be a lot of hit and trial, especially for luxury brands, because at the end of the day, they're not really trying to sell any products through these live streaming. It's just a lot of brand awareness. What is getting the right strategy there? We'll probably have to wait and see how things play along. But thank you so much for all your inputs, and I've definitely got some insight out of this. Thank you, Ashley.
Thank you, Urvash. Thank you. And if you're looking for specific tactics for live streaming, I would say number one, which is very hot in China right now, is when you invite one celebrity and you invite one meta of basically subject of a meta expert. So when they collaborate together, we ran live streams that did very, very well when you had one person, for example, that was an expert on, luxury, and the other person was a celebrity. And then there was one brand representative as well. So then it becomes a communication conversation. If you are just talking about, again, just a live stream, not a gala kind of event or a fashion show event, then you can have a conversation like this and you can change. You can have, for example, brand representative to be changed. You can have a celebrity changed. And what works also very well is 3 to 4 hour rooms. And they run like a live TV show. So it's the same studio, but then you essentially exchange a couple of people and the conversation goes into different modes. And then you have also people, showcasing some products, or for example, if it is something like, luxurious drink, then they're mixing the drink. If it is a fashion show, then, people come and put it on, and there is a bit of education, a bit of entertainment. And of course, there is, again, brand representative, the brand story is presented, and also some insight beyond obvious that is being shared from a few angles. So I think that works really, really well. Using 3D live streaming is also very new, and people would most likely talk about it. So 3D live streaming goes with you sitting in, essentially recording in a green screen studio where background is green, and you can actually have a 3D model of the product, for example, a bag or a scarf or whatever else it may be. So you can have it floating nearby and close to the to the user while people are talking about in the background. And if I'm the user, if I'm watching this, I can zoom it in, and I can also purchase it right now, or I just can get just more information. So any kind of tech, and that's what I mean by learning from Alibaba. Alibaba always from 3, 4, 5 years ago, they started using this, scan a QR code or shake your phone right now to get special deals. So it's interacting between watching something on TV and also interacting with your phone, collecting coins, etc., etc. So you can also make sure that you're using new tech, something that people have not seen that often yet, and make it really luxurious, cool experience, but also tech empowered. This is also going quite big right now. So these are just some of the big live streaming kind of trends that I'm sure are going to be only bigger in 2021. Okay, if this is helpful, then let's move on to the next question. We have the Boggy here.
For organizing this. I was wondering if you guys had insights on sort of the trends in audio in China, especially paid audio under the form of things like paid podcasts, or even I think in WeChat there are like these audio morning greetings that you can buy. So do you have any insight on that? So that's the first question. The second question is, do you see something like Clubhouse being either expanded to China or copied and started in China?
Thank you so much, Boggy, for your question. Awesome to have you here. So when it comes to paid content in China, also just to set the stage, it is in the past 1.5 to 2.5 years has been growing like crazy. Young people are actually right now, Gen Z is the first generation of Chinese that is truly empowered to pay for millennials and Gen Zs, I must say, to pay for content. Because when I moved to China first, and it was back in 2006, I mean, we bought all of our DVDs on the street, in one of those pirated shops, and that was the way to get all your Korean TV series and the music and whatever else you wanted. And later on, you would go to online platforms and essentially download stuff, and that would always be free. So right now, people are willing to pay for created content. They're willing to subscribe to, services on IT, for instance. You subscribe to services for paid content with less ads. Of course, it's very annoying that in IT they will still show you, some ads. Or if you want to see, for instance, some, the full season, not just one episode per week, you will still have to pay on top of your subscription and membership additional money to do that. So there's a lot of controversial views there on it. But in general, people are a lot more willing and a lot more open to pay for content and to pay for subscriptions and to be part of that whole thing. When it comes to Clubhouse, I'm going to leave it at that because I think other people would also want to comment. When it comes to Clubhouse is right now quite popular in China. It went viral a couple of days ago on Weibo as well. And we already have a few copies of the app. I haven't, to be honest, checked them myself, but I believe one of them that is the biggest right now, it's called 2. And it's almost exact copy with a couple of additional features. And there are 2 or 3 others that are also, developed and doing something slightly differently. So essentially, there are already those apps. And of course, Clubhouse is being accessed from mainland China as well through VPNs. And I'm following a lot of rooms where mainland Chinese are sharing, how to become successful on Clubhouse, how to start your own room, etc., how to really, utilize this platform platform. So these are one of the biggest rooms that that I'm attending with like 6, 7, 8, 900 people any given time of the day in our Asian time zone. So Clubhouse has also been on people's radars. Anybody else wants to comment on the Boggy's question? Please hop in.
Hey, the Boggy. I just want to add a little. The biggest audio content, paid audio content or subscription company is called Himalaya in China. They're really big. They're pretty much a monopoly of the market. I wouldn't be surprised if Clubhouse is not allowed to enter the China market. I wouldn't be surprised Himalaya would launch something similar. They have the resources and the user base to do something like this. And in terms of Clubhouse, right now, even though there are a lot of people using them right now, it's still kind of a niche market because it requires a foreign Apple ID to do it, and it's iPhone only. And a lot of people in China use Android because of Huawei and Xiaomi. And for the iPhone users, if it's like especially if it's someone from like a tier 2, tier 3 city, it's very unlikely for them to have a foreign one with VPN, for example. So most people still aren't able to get on Clubhouse. So my hypothesis is that if this concept gets really popular in China, eventually one of the big guys, especially Laya, might launch something similar on their platform.
Great addition. Thank you so much, Wei Dan. Thank you. The Boggy, have we answered your question?
Yeah, awesome. Thank you very much. This was very insightful, and thank you for your time.
Awesome stuff. Thank you so much. Now we have Jonathan. Jonathan, I'm making you one of our panelists. I hope you're joining us as well right now, Jonathan. Hello. And just about this time, our Clubhouse starts acting out. Sometimes about 10 o'clock or 11 o'clock China time, it really probably gets overly popular somewhere else in the world, and their servers are just not holding up very well. So I'm trying to bring Jonathan. Unfortunately, Clubhouse somehow doesn't allow us to do that. Let me try a few more times. And if anybody else has a question, do let me know. I'm trying to invite Jonathan to speak right here.
I have a question if you have just a minute.
Sure, Nick, go ahead.
I noticed on Himalaya, thank you very much. To actually, was it Wei Dan just now commenting on Himalaya? I noticed something very interesting over the last few years, and maybe also that's probably because I'm not Gen Z and a little more of a fatty hole. But I noticed talk shows, it's really popular as a format in China, at least to a certain age range. And do you think that sets the stage for like a local Clubhouse as a use case?
I wouldn't have insights into that. I know it's getting really popular, but the way that the talk shows are organized is they're sponsored by these platforms like IG, and they're getting really popular there as more like a sort of a TV program. Platform like Clubhouse, because given the nature, don't quote me on this, but given the nature and given the culture of Chinese people not willing to share audio content or directly talk to strangers, people were saying that it might be a little difficult for some of these programs to get on a platform like this, but it's very hard to say because Gen Z is an entirely different generation. As you know, we see a lot, we do a lot of research and run a lot of data on these people. They're more liberal, they're more talkative, more willing to express themselves. And in fact, a lot of the people, I think, I don't know if you guys have heard about how Clubhouse invites have been sold in secondary markets in China,
999 RMB. Yes, we're done. We know. Crazy.
So it's very hard to predict. I had a few invites that I wanted to give out to people, and it just blew up. People just took them in a couple minutes. So it's very hard to predict. And I would think that the biggest risk is that if the government doesn't want a platform like this that's so liberal and open to get into the market, then these shows, they definitely want to be politically correct because they would rely on a big sponsor like JD or Alibaba. So they have to follow what's part of the sort of the 5-year plan or so it's very hard for them to do something that's more decentralized or open. Just my personal opinion.
This is cool. This is very insightful. Thank you so much, Weidan. Appreciate that. Jonathan, you were finally able to join us after 25 attempts. Welcome on stage.
Hi everyone. How's it going? I think I just have one quick addition to this topic. Which is the history of broadcasting and listening to radio in China is significantly shorter than, say, the UK market, the European market, and the US market. We took over the media market, the TMT market, very fast after the 21st century. So the video market is significantly larger than the audio market, to say the least.
Absolutely.
I think the recent estimation is that the market size for the audio in mainland China is edging towards 200 亿yuan, which is, I don't know how to translate that into billions, but in RMB, which is significantly smaller than iQIYI, Baidu, Tudou, Youku added up together, I think.
This is awesome insight. And do you think, Jonathan, from the cultural, as you said, there's no history, of course, of radio and audio content as such, right? Compared to the West, compared to that penetration. But do you think that there will be more users willing? Just like think about before Himalaya came into being, there was no such platform at all for audio only, right? It was just not the thing. Everything was video and everything was pictures. Or you remember like early on, everybody loved long texts, long articles on WeChat, and generally Chinese people prefer to read, back in the day, longer articles, while in the West, people just wanted to see pretty pictures and a couple of words thrown here and there. And then, it went into pictures, and then it went into videos and the live streaming and all that. And when Himalaya came about, they basically carved out, and they also accumulated quite a bit of followers with this audio-only content. So do you think that this audio-only will grow in China, and how significantly? Do you think that it has appeal, or it does not really have any special appeal, in the market?
Well, I think we have to look at this issue from two sides, right? First of all, any consumer behavior can be cultivated. Think about iPhone as the most obvious example, right? But on the other hand, Xiaohongshu and Douyin has occupied so much of the quote-unquote free time and leisure time or vibing time of Chinese consumers that I don't see exponential growth, at least when the audio market competing with a very vivid, advertising-rich, profit-rich environment.
Yeah, awesome insights. Thank you so much for sharing. Awesome.
No problem.
Guys, Yeah, it was awesome. Guys, do you still have any questions? If you do raise your hand. If not, then I think we will be wrapping it up in about 10 minutes from now. So if any last questions or any direction where you want to lead this conversation to, let's do that. And if not, I would still allow Natalia a couple of minutes to talk about the power women, because our topic today was Chinese consumers in 2021, and we were looking at two audiences, right? One was super moms and the other one was the power women. We didn't have much time to talk about the power women, but Natalia, I think the stage is yours. Please, please let us know your thoughts on this particular consumer group.
Yes, thank you, Ashley. So speaking about the power women, because today we covered quite a lot of topics and quite a lot of area. So I think that what's actually excited the most about the powerful women, that they also basically the rising of this consumption group is also indicating basically the changes in some of the consumption behavior and attitudes inside the society. Because last year, 2020, there was two basically very popular TV series talking about powerful women, especially after basically 30. And then it's become a very important change in the society, because previously women after 30, they were supposed to be married, they were supposed to be basically taking care about their families, thinking about their children, and so on. And now it's become and then they basically, if after 30 there was no family, they were already treated that something goes wrong. But now, we can see that the rise of the women empowerment. So being that after 30 and being proud that you can be basically a business owner, you can be building your career, you basically have still plenty of the time to keep developing. And I think that it's really very, very interesting consumption groups, because they are only basically growing for certain product categories. So apart from basically the health, apart from basically the fitness products, they also become a very important consumer groups in terms of some educational products and educational services, because they are thinking about how to basically improve their lives and how to basically taking care about themselves. So that's why we also see basically the rise of different learning institutes. We also see how basically they're changing the whole market. And I think that this is something that we really will see more and more. And as we talked several times, why I'm actually very excited about these consumer groups, because these women, they also start basically encouraging others. And then I basically was reading hot topics and Weibo and on other social media. So younger generation, they also start thinking that basically they want to be more empowerment. They want to basically recognize themselves. And this is obviously will also change quite a lot in terms of how they spend, where they spend, and they also basically arrange different communities. And I think that it's also related to this subject, because then we look at the QL's rise. So I also start seeing more women basically after 50 who is basically start showing their lifestyle, and then that basically at any age you can start pursuing your dreams. And this is something that's really exciting.
Thank you, Natalia.
Because we have just a short time and trying to make it very short.
No, thank you so much. I think what you've mentioned is very interesting, because indeed the two shows that came out last year, they were not the cause of the wave, right? They were just a reflection of what was already happening a few years ago, starting from a few years, and this women feeling empowered again to just announce that they have other plans for themselves for the meantime, that they, for example, as we mentioned earlier today, the birth rate is at its lowest. It's not because, Chinese women suddenly just don't want to have children, even though there's a growing singles economy, but also because they just say, you know what, I'm not going to have a child by the time I'm 22 or 23. I'm probably going to wait a bit longer and get my career, etc., etc. And when I live, let's say, in a first, second, third tier city, I've got options to, especially first, second tier cities, I've got options to be independent, to be, in a community of friends and still feel good about myself. And also my parents are less and less on my case about getting married and, following a certain path towards life. So all that came into reality in the past couple of years, and really a lot of conversations were had online, offline. I would say that China government rarely encourages these conversations because, of course, for China it is important to keep family as the centerpiece of the China economy, and making sure that families are being built, children are being born, and that is why they are very careful with this topic. They're not particularly censoring it too much, but they do censor it, and they don't particularly encourage it, for this reason. So it's a very delicate dance what you can or cannot do when it comes to women empowerment in China. But in general, definitely the direction is going into more and more powerful women getting just more choices. And that would be very interesting to hear from other experts here. Syca, if you've got anything to add, Wei Dan, you've been very active today and super, super awesome. So if you've got anything to add specifically on this consumer group, I think that would be very meaningful as well.
Yes, absolutely agree about those insights you put about powerful women, because actually they have really, really strong consumption power ability, and actually they are more willing to go shopping as just a form of they just want to relax themselves. They just want to get a break from the life, from the modern life. But as a matter of fact, they have their own career, they have their own life, so they don't have too much time as the younger students. Like when they're doing the shopping, they don't have too much time to do the research. So maybe so from this angle, so the niche products maybe can meet their needs to show that they are unique. They are outstanding and they are different from others. And also this consumer group, they also love luxury goods and those beautiful products. And those products can also easily attract their attention. Yeah.
I can share something that might not be applicable with everybody, but based on some of the data that we did and some of the clients that we work with, there's especially in the fashion or consumer goods world, for this particular segment, we found there's a different tolerance or preference in price for different products. For example, for handbags versus shoes, it's an entirely different sort of price range that the powerful, especially the working professionals or sort of senior management with a solid career, when they were the first segment, if they want to enter into luxury, for example, it would be a handbag. And so certain brands have done it really well in that when they cannot compete with in segments such as apparel, for example, these people are not going to just go ahead and buy a bunch of Louis Vuitton or Chanel apparel products because that's a very small segment of this group. But certain brands have a position, for example, Michael Kors, for example, position their shoes in a relatively speaking lower segment compared to their competitor brands, but they position their apparel to in this segment that elevates sort of brand positioning. but shoes are what people would buy a lot and generates a lot of their sales. Or they would introduce certain hero products, for example, that's relatively speaking more affordable. But then there has to be a personality element, which some brands uses certain segments. Some brands uses certain, for example, limited edition products to maintain sort of the image. And the other thing is that there's a sweet spot, I think, if there are brands trying to get into the market from some, at least from the demand-driven data or the sales data, that we see there's a sweet spot, which is some sort of the segment that's lower, slightly lower than affordable luxury. The segment that we call affordable luxury in North American market, for example, somewhere like Michael Kors or Coach, but a little lower than that, usually generates volume. It generates a lot of volume, and you can use digital marketing to sort of generate sales. You can still use influencers, but you can still differentiate yourself compared to sort of the mass market. And we found that works really well for this group. And then for bigger brands, for example, with like bigger influencers that they're using, or even celebrities that they're using, sometimes a younger sort of 小鲜肉, as we call it, a younger male celebrity works better than like a female celebrity with power, with sort of a branding similar to this group. Because for example, a 40-year-old powerful woman, they look at a 20 or 19-year-old celebrity, they'll be like, oh my gosh, he's wearing this, or he's recommending this. I wish my future son can be like this. A lot of interest and a lot of sales in that particular segment. Just something interesting to share. If anyone is interested in this topic, feel free to connect with me offline and we can talk more.
Thank you so much. So agree that there's definitely a lot of very interesting connections there when it comes to younger groups or younger 小鲜肉, right, in China. For instance, some girls look at these boy groups and bend as somebody who would be typically their boyfriend. At the same time, many of them are looking at them as Xiao Didi, right? So basically, he is my younger brother. And then some older women are looking at it also as somebody, oh, this could be like my son wearing something, etc. And he is like young, he knows what exactly right now is hot, and I can, wear it in order to also stay in trend, right? So this is what Wei Dan is also talking about. I think very interesting and meaningful. When it comes to powerful women, we also see that when it comes to their top 5 preferred categories to consume are luxury products they enjoy, and as mentioned, yes, entry luxury in China right now is still extremely popular, and products that improve quality of life, especially something that's related to home right now, right? For example, speakers, right? They just choose better speakers, or something pretty, like for example, right now what's getting more and more hot is the vases, the traditional vases in China. So these women, especially power women, they are putting a bit of money into getting these Chinese elements, right? But buying something expensive. For example, some of them go for Shanghai Tang, or some of them go for some Chinese essentially ceramic manufacturers, maybe even a little bit of this cheaper or younger antiques, not too expensive, and they buy these vases that you put on the desk, like ping an, right, for basically success at work and that everything at home is great, right? And then educational courses, as Natalia said, are very popular, and fitness related products are also quite big. When it comes to consumption, and especially luxury, because Wei Dan was talking about that, let's remember that 70% of global luxury spending is coming from the Chinese consumers. And right now, when traveling is not possible, a lot of this consumption is happening, obviously, domestically in China as well. And looking at a couple of values, just to close up that topic, a couple of values that power women truly look up to is independent, like being independent. I think 78%, based on our research, also identify with, being independent is the most important kind of thing for them. And 45% look at good health, a healthy lifestyle, joy and peace, inner peace. So that's both fit body and fit mind. And finally, 33% are strongly identifying themselves with fashion trends and essentially any kind of innovation. So it's a very interesting consumer group. Again, consumer power is there. They are putting themselves very often first. They definitely want to upgrade their consumption. They definitely want to break a lot of barriers and just be, just enjoy life, just be independent, just enjoy life. And they have a very beautiful community of other ladies like that within their social circle. So I think that also makes them a phenomenally interesting, customer to watch and look at. Yeah, today's been like 2 hours on, and we usually just spend an hour basically with our talks, but today you were so absolutely phenomenal today that we indeed took 2 hours. And we absolutely loved it. So thank you so much for engaging, asking questions, also for bringing your insights. I love this platform because we're learning from each other, and essentially it's all very, very collaborative. So loved it. Thank you so much for joining us. Have a great day. Don't forget to follow us on also Clubhouse. And remember that we have the show coming up every day at 9 p.m. China time. See you hopefully tomorrow, and let's cover more China related topics.